Perfect. Thank you very much for this kind introduction, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening and welcome. My name is Nicolas Mackel. I'm the CEO of Luxembourg for Finance and one of the proud partners of this event. May you live in interesting times. Many of you will know this saying, but I doubt many of you know that it's actually meant as a curse, because living in uninteresting times is, of course, much more comfortable. 2 years ago, as François just said, we were here for the last time. And 2 years ago, when we were here, it was also early March. We all knew something was up. There was a major event coming. We just didn't know exactly what it was going to be. We didn't know what the magnitude of it was going to be. We didn't know what the consequences would be. Well, today I think we are here again, 2 years later, and instead of celebrating the fact that we can be back in physical form with people in a room, I think everybody is in a gloomy mood because we know that something of a major magnitude is in the process of happening. We are indeed witnessing history in the making. We are seeing live footage of mass murder. We are seeing how a country with a proud history and a proud culture is sliding down into a dictatorship. We should have known because there was nothing hidden about it. And we see millions of refugees hitting the road again, as many as we didn't see since the end of the Second World War in Europe. We probably know that what we are living is the most dangerous time the world has experienced since the Cuban Missile Crisis. What will Mr. Putin achieve with his war? Well, he set out to gain the respect for Russia of the world community. What he will achieve is to make Russia a pariah state. Even in countries where the governments are neutral, a majority of the people find the despicable acts repulsive. And what he will achieve is that all of us admire and respect the dignity with which our Ukrainian friends are fighting for their independence. Instead of avoiding NATO enlargement, which was one of his aims, he has given NATO a new sense of purpose and a new unity. And it is far from being brain dead, as it was called only a short while ago. Instead of rebuilding the USSR empire, he's bringing back Soviet breadlines soon. And instead of making Russia great again, as his good friend Donald would have said, he will ensure that Russia will be impoverished for quite a while. Instead of bringing Russia back to the world stage, he's making Russia go through a reverse process of globalization. All this, ladies and gentlemen, is not good news for anybody, because what does the war mean? The war will mean, and we are seeing it every day, that Ukraine is in the process of being destroyed. And make no mistake, he will not stop before it is destroyed. Yes, our economic sanctions and financial sanctions are pulling quite a punch, and the real effect has not even been felt yet. They are a strong chokehold on Russia's economy, not to punish the Russian people, because we have no beef with the Russian people. They are victims as much as anybody else in this. We, the Western countries, want to weaken the Russian economy in order to limit the military capability to deliver the bombs that destroy pediatric hospitals. We have to be very careful about the martial language that some are using when it comes to economic sanctions. I think the moral high ground of using economic sanctions is exactly that it's not dealing a deadly blow to anybody. Our economies will also be hit, make no mistake about that. And well, strongly hit. We see it in the rising energy prices and commodity prices. We will have an amplified inflation that, contrary to what was said only a few weeks ago, will not be temporary. At a moment when there's no room for maneuver from a monetary side, when our central banks wanted to tighten, they will now be between a rock and a hard place on this. On the one side, they cannot tighten. On the other side, they have to fight inflation. Well, I don't think that any one of them is facing any good choice. Our currencies are losing value. That may be good for our export, but not good for anything else, in particular imports of energy, which we pay Mr. Putin for. Somebody has to explain that to me. Our markets are dipping. Now, I mentioned the Donald before, who in March 2020 famously said when markets were crashing that there's a good side in it. You can buy the dip. So anybody interested in making lots of money by buying the dip, if you're cynical enough, go for it. I don't see anything positive in this. And of course, as many of you will know in the financial industry, whether it's Western banks or investment funds, they are facing an exposure to Russia to a certain degree. Luckily, not enormous, but depending on which company you talk to, it is not negligible, let's put it that way. Where do we go from here? Putin will continue, as I said before, with his destruction, and he will blackmail us with the threat of nuclear weapons. He will play the madman strategy by making us think that he's perfectly capable of it, and I think he's capable of it. We will not have any choice but to go out of importing Russian oil and gas. I just don't get how we can continue to pay billions of dollars every day for importing gas and oil to somebody who uses the money to finance the bombs that kill innocent civilians. We will have to bombard Russia, but not with bombs, with the truth, with Western media, with the internet, because at the moment, Mr. Putin is gaining the narrative war in Russia. A majority of the Russian people who have no other sources of information than those that are controlled by the state are supporting his war. And a letter, the Z, is becoming the new swastika. We cannot let that happen. When they will understand that when they switch on their TV, all they see is, I don't know, the Swan Lake or something of the sort, repeating itself all the time, I hope that soon they will start to understand that something is fishy about what they are allowed to know. And, ladies and gentlemen, we will have to engage with China and not the opposite, because China holds a very important key to this. And we cannot simply not do it. We cannot let China slide into the camp of Russia. We have to bring China to our side, and nothing of that will be easy. I think I've depressed many of you, at least if I look at these faces. So even if we all judge and value the seriousness of the humanitarian crisis that is unfolding in front of our eyes, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to finish on a lighter note, and I mean no disrespect, but let me put Mr. Putin up for 3 suggestions. The first is that he should be given the Nobel Prize for Medicine, because on his own he managed to put an end to COVID in about 2.5 days. He should also receive the Charlemagne Prize, the price that every year is given to a personality for their contribution to European integration. Now, in the case of Mr. Putin, it may not have been voluntary, but he certainly is one of those people who will have done most in the last couple of years for European integration. See the German shift on defense. Even our Danish friends are going to hold a referendum where there's a very high probability they will scrap the defense opt-out that they negotiated in the Maastricht Treaty. Our leaders are discussing in Versailles this evening, among many other things, common borrowing for defense and other issues. That was anathema for many, many years. And even if tonight there will not be any breakthrough, there's a very good chance that come June, we will have made progress. Of course, the fact that neutral countries like Sweden and Finland are very actively contemplating joining NATO is also a major advance. Brexit, we haven't even mentioned Brexit yet, but notwithstanding all the funny positions of the current British government, there is a very strong security coordination between the EU and the UK now. And then the last suggestion I would like to make is that Mr. Putin should be given the future Greta Thunberg Award for his contribution to our ongoing fight against climate change. Because I think in the long term, he will definitely have forced us into quantum leaps for renewable energy. Maybe in the short and medium term, he will have pushed us into more nuclear energy and more coal energy. But I think that everybody now understands that the only way forward for the European Union is more and massive investments into renewable energy. And I hope, ladies and gentlemen, that I will not have ruined your mood this evening, but I think the situation is very gloomy, and I apologize if I was a bit too dark, but I think we are not only going through dark times now, and if you ever think that you are, think of the people who are really going through dark times. But I think that we haven't seen anything yet. As our American friends would say, you ain't seen nothing yet. And I think if we come back here next year, let's see if my pessimism was correct. But I'm afraid that we will see very, very difficult times ahead. On this happy note, thank you very much.